Hey, good morning, good day, good afternoon, wherever you are. And welcome to the ORIN Oracles special edition. We're recreating Leah, and I'm ringing her on the phone. I hope she just tried to call me on the laptop, and that didn't work. And so we're working on getting her on the phone so that we can have a conversation. And so welcome to the ORIN Oracles Live. And she's there, I know. I don't know why what's happening with her phone, but it's all good. Yesterday, it was so crazy. I ended up doing the broadcast in 3 segments, and she never appeared. So it was really bizarro, but it was all good. It just like held space. And, I'm doing the same thing right now. I'm ringing her on my phone because we figured the best thing to do is have her on audio. And for some reason, she's not answering. She just called me a minute ago on the laptop, and I said, well, it's going to work on the phone better than doing it on the laptop because I can't seem to make it work on the laptop. So it's all good. And happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Big hearts to everybody. And thanks for joining in. And we're going to get her, I swear. I promise you this. And, so it's all love. And, anyway, I've been lining up the next shows. And next week is we're going to have Jordan Blakey, who created the Urine Magic group. And he's going to be with me. We're going to be talking about kombucha PT, among other things. And then the week after that, Monica Swift, who runs a urine therapy group, she's going to be joining me. And then the week after that is going to be Brian Smith and Graham Hart from Ireland and the UK. And they had me on their radio broadcast a few weeks back. And okay, Leah, are you in there somewhere? I'm waiting on her. It's all good though. And today I decided it's a beautiful day, actually. It's like 45 degrees outside, which is the first time it's been above freezing in weeks. And, well, here she comes again. Oh, hang on. Okay, Leah, are you there? Hello. This is just always so trippy. We're waiting on a network. It says it's connecting. So anyway, it's a beautiful day here. It's a little overcast. Sun keeps popping through. Are you there? Speak up.
I can.
You.
I'm here.
Okay, so hang on a minute, okay? This time we have her. Yay!
Yay, we have liftoff.
So I am going to start this show as I started yesterday. And today I have put the crazy cats outside so that I have a little more space. And you're still in there, right?
I can hear you, but it was coming in and out.
Okay, well, we're all good. I decided that I would recite the poem that I did yesterday because I really do feel it as a preset to this particular broadcast. So just stand by and we'll take it from there. I trust we're going to have this thing work fine. She says I keep dropping in and out. Maybe that was because of too much of dropping out and tuning in. I don't know. So,
see, and you're coming in and out. I'm in the middle of a snowstorm.
Oh, isn't it fun how this works?
It's incredible. I literally cannot see across the street.
Wow. Okay. Well, I was going to take a moment and recite the poem that I did yesterday because I just feel it was, it is something that is important to include in this broadcast. And yesterday I had the cat, the crazy cat.
Yes, I saw the cat going in and out.
Yeah, so I put the cats outside. It's a nice day. They're not going to freeze or anything, so they can.
Excellent.
Yeah. So anyway, this piece, I wrote this piece like 18 years ago, and I'm going to represent it uninterrupted.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, bear with me. This is entitled, Do You Know Humans, Indigenous Kind? Native in spirit, collective lifetimes, a sense of compassion for indigenous kind. On every continent, more people divide. To the fate of the humans, who will decide? Destruction of forests shows no relief. What's more important, humans or beef? The loss of these elements plus water and grain makes the passion for hamburgers seem so insane. People are starving. Do we have a clue? Would it make a difference if that person was you? The plight of the humans is at our command. In view of the future, where do you stand? Just how important are new Nike shoes when they are produced by human abuse? And who controls food? Do you own some seeds? Will food engineering fulfill all our needs? More seeds are illegal as patents unfold. There's just more control our government sold. Some people know this, most people don't. Will you be affected if you think that you won't? Every agreement that's made at the top governs our future. Do you think it should stop? Should I feel bad about what I don't see when I watch what I want on cable TV? Well, what is the problem? Aren't we all free? I didn't vote Bush in, so stop blaming me. Would that make a difference? Would consciousness grow, changing the puppets in the government show? Permit me to ask you, do you feel secure? Do you flow with the river, or do you cling to the shore? What if your family or someone you love disappeared in the night, escorted by thugs? Would it make any difference what badges they wore if you were the victim of this type of horror? Well, these are the truths that some people face. Annihilation, destroying their race. It's always a matter of who owns the land, who collects taxes, and who is the man. So where can they go, the children of earth, whose ancestors taught them survival from birth? Who are these people that want to live free? Are they different from you and me? Out of sight and out of time, the plight of the humans, indigenous kind. Do you feel at risk? Do you feel alone? Are your lights on when nobody's home? What is your history? Where are you from? Have you ever known victims of the thundering guns? Do you know humans, indigenous kind? and show them compassion or treat them like slime? Are we so civilized that we don't see? If you can't be yourself, then who should you be? In view of creation, is this human fate to be like others, assimilate? I don't know about you, but that's not for me. I honor the sovereigns who want to live free. If we all rise up and together stand tall and notice our freedom is beginning to fall, we must bury the hatred. What's done is done. Start accepting the truth of what we become. Can we stop the violence and end future wars? Eliminate bigotry and become something more? Do you trust the government with fearful belief that they're saving the humans from furthering grief? Part of the package the media sells is to keep us distracted and under a spell. As the government awakens a world full of fear, shouldn't we wake up to the truth that is clear? Our country's in meltdown. What can we do? Call out the troops for a government coup? Who draws the picture for humans in stress? Pharmaceutical companies who pirate the press? This may sound too cynical. Do we need more proof? More validation in finding the truth? So what is the answer? Where can we go? Who can we talk to who's in the know? Start with yourself. Go deep inside. Check your beliefs before you decide. In order to heal, we must come from love. Celebrate differences and then rise above. Cradle each heart as if it was yours. Unite the world and eliminate wars. We are the hope. Find God within. That is the place that the journey begins. Once you discover that God loves us all, regardless of race, just answer the call. As humans in training, just do your part, sharing the love and open your hearts. With each transformation, new truth will be told, and teaching the children before they are sold. Just follow your path and read all the signs. Put love in your heart. Now is the time. Give the respect that you deserve to, and be responsible in all that you do. Elevate spirits. Start with yourself. Experience happiness. Create world health. Why wait any longer? Now is the time. Show up in your heart and get out of your mind. So with all that being said, I want to welcome my beautiful friend, Leah Sampson, the standing white buffalo calf woman from the Santee Sioux tribe. Hello, Leah.
Hello, Weedu. Thank you so very much for inviting me here today.
Oh, it's so nice to have you. Happy Valentine's Day, my friend.
Happy Valentine's Day, my loves. All of my loves.
Yeah. So can everybody hear Leah okay? Anybody give me a thumbs up or a heart or something just to let me know that she's coming through on the audio okay, please? Anyone?
I am in the middle of a snowstorm, so I feel like the Geico guy with his hand up. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, they're coming in. Yeah, we can hear you fine. So Leah, we had such a delightful conversation the other day, and you were telling me so much history. And I would like to welcome you to please give us some of that knowledge, that history, that lineage, because it's so deep and profound to me, if you would mind.
Not a problem. To me, this is just who my family is and where I've come from. So my paternal father's side is Native American mixed with some German. And the Native American is the Santee Sioux tribe from Dakota Territory. And the Sioux Native Indians make up the Nakota, Dakota, and Lakota nations. So my grandfather's side is Chief Inkpaduta with the Santee Sioux, who came north with our Lakota cousins, Chief Sitting Bull, after the Wounded Knee Massacre. Then followed Custer's Last Stand, which people know as Custer's Last Stand, but First Nations we know and identify as the Battle of Little Bighorn. So after that incident, one of my uncles stole or took Custer's horse. We got chased into the Fort Qu'Appelle Valley in Saskatchewan, where we either later surrendered or got captured and got segregated out into different Indian reservations. So mine is the Muscopheeding Saulteaux First Nation in Fort Qu'Appelle, Saskatchewan. That's my father's side. And there's a German in there as well from Romania, so from the Germans of Romania. And my mother's side is Métis. One of my grandfathers, Marin Boucher, was one of the first French colonialists that came over in the 1500s. And he landed in Montreal to create and establish I think they called it Little France, the second France colony. And that's my mother's side, and she's got some German in there as well. Now, my grandfathers used to meet with Louis Riel, who is recognized in Canada. Actually, I think it's Louis Riel Day coming up on Monday in celebration because he blended both of the worlds together and fought for both and was later hung for treason and later then pardoned for treason, I believe. So I come from a family of fighters. My first husband is a Russian Doukhobor. Our child is a status Métis, and also is a Doukhobor, which is Russian freedom fighters from over there. And my youngest son is a Jamaican Maroon from Queen Nanny's tribe. Actually, I should say my Russian son, his family is a Pugachev. So anybody who understands that lineage will understand they're freedom fighters. And the second son is from the Jamaican Maroon tribe, who the Jamaican Maroons celebrate Queen Nanny as a hero on Heroes Day for setting up the first where the first free slaves were able to go. So that's my lineage. That's my family. I am a North American Treaty Status Indian, which means I carry a card that says I'm a North American Treaty Status Indian. When I cross the USA border, I just have to show the card. I don't have to have a passport.
Wow.
So the government identifies me as an Indian, and I'm not offended by the term because for colonialists or immigrants or Europeans, they need labels for everything. And so that identifies me as a person who operates an Indian Act. So that's my lineage, but I'm also non-status Métis because my mother is a status Métis. So I honor both of the worlds, so all four of those worlds, 5 or 6, when you look at it. So to me, it's normal.
And you were given that name at birth, as if I recall correctly.
Yes, in our culture, the elders name the child. And I was told my name by my grandmother later in my life because she participated in the residential schools, and we weren't really growing up. I was a Native family, but I'm so white that I was out in the street, you'd think I was a white person. So my grandmother shared my name with me, but we didn't use it, and she didn't tell anybody else about it either, because we would have been persecuted for practicing our culture.
Wow. So when was that revealed to you? How old were you?
I remember her telling me when I was about 4 or 5, and she gave me the name, and then she told me I couldn't tell anyone, and I would know when to be able, or I would know when the time was. Time came, and I remember sharing my name with a girlfriend in grade 10, and that was the first time I'd really come out about it. But then in 2012, I became Idle No More. And that was when 5 of our nation's women came together and said, it's time to rise and it's time to become Idle No More. And so that's when I went, all right, here we are, here I am. And I came out. And the government freaked out. Government totally freaked out.
In which way? I mean, explain that a little more in detail, what that means.
I was going through severe domestic violence at this time, and I had gone to the government for assistance and help, and to help me out, and they thought and treated me as a white person. And then in 2012, I got my status because I'm a Bill C3, a Gender Equality Act Indian. My father's a Bill C31. My grandmother lost her rights because she married a German, and so she lost her Indian status. When the government realized that they were providing me services and that I was white, and that I was asking for Aboriginal assistance, like natural therapies for my health conditions, and they weren't giving them to me. They would only give me what the government decided. And when I realized that I was an Indian and I came out and I told them, they then realized all of the crimes and the bad behaviors that they were doing, and they totally shut down. Like it was an incredible thing to watch. So they freaked out and they said, you can't do that. You can't practice urine therapy. You can't smudge your child. You can't talk like this. You can't do these things because it's not with society. What society says is okay. And I'm going, but I'm an Indian and I'm just practicing my Métis culture here for the betterment of all of my family. What's wrong with that? Isn't that what the Canadian freedom, what everything says? On all of our charters of rights and freedoms, aren't I allowed to do that? And then when I realized what they were doing, I took them to the International Criminal Court. And I used my case that I had active in the Provincial Court of Alberta, I used it as evidence against them to help change the system so that no family had to go through what my family has gone through. And that's just being a Métis, using both of the systems for the betterment of all of our tribes in order to achieve world peace. Love. One love.
Wow, I just got this huge chill all over my body. Oh, wow. I mean, wow.
Well, the court case file is sitting at the International Criminal Court under the case file of OTP CR 741/09. And they required an active case of apartheid, genocide, ecocide, everything. After, I think it was 2008, they needed somebody with an active case. And when I came out and said I'm an Indian, and I'm going to take you to the International Criminal Court, they kind of laughed at me. And I'm a former oil and gas corporate executive assistant who's worked next to some of the greatest leaders in Fortune 500 companies. So I've been watching and I've been learning. So to me, this is normal. This is what you do. This is in my lineage. You fight, but you do what's right for all of the people. And so I've got the Métis in me and the Europeans, and I've got the natives. So it's like a war going on within my own body to find peace and balance, and then to help lead the community out of it. And it's a prophecy that has been prophesied to come true, that the white buffalo calf woman will reappear, and she will come and she will share the ceremonies and the teachings with the people that will help them thrive. We've been witnessing the white buffalo signs being born every year. There's a white buffalo calf being born every year, and this is one of the many signs of her return. We're seeing it. We know it. And I am merely being a standing white buffalo calf woman as my grandmother named me. And this spirit and energy is within everyone. You just, as your poem had said, you have to go inside to find that love. You have to remember where you came from and what you're doing in order to ascend and find that heaven and do those ceremonies, one of which is the urine therapy.
Yes. Now, you mentioned that. Now, tell me about, in a historical point of view, in your tribal nature, how deep does that go, the urine therapy, as far as an active healing and knowledge?
For my knowledge and research, it goes back to the beginning of time. You were created in the womb, which essentially you were a fish, ingesting its own amniotic fluid, which is your own urine, in order to be born. So Indigenous First Nations have always reused and just known, like, we use it for the tanning of the hides. There's so many different purposes for urine. You don't waste anything in Indigenous culture. You just don't.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I think I told you when we were talking that I had the privilege and the pleasure of actually seeing the very first white buffalo calf in the sanctuary up in Flagstaff back in, like, I think it was early '99. And that was just humbling to just stand there and bear witness to this great legend being born. And to my recollection, that was the first. That was the first one born.
From my recollection, yes, they because I remember it was about 98 or 99 seeing it at the Calgary Zoo. And my mother telling me there's a white buffalo at the zoo, go see it. And I remember going there and thinking, it's so sad that it's behind bars. But the energy and, you know, just the stare down we had, we just stared at each other the entire time. We were just looking right at each other.
Wow.
Just remarkable, right? Because they can sense your energy. They know.
Yeah, a lot of wisdom in there.
Mm-hmm.
So in your own practice with the urine therapy, how long has that gone back in your experience?
I started urine therapy in, I would say, I think I started the distilled water first for a couple of months, and it would have been October of 2012, I would say, when I first started, and I was in so much pain.
Now, this was due to this incident that happened during a sweat lodge, right? Did you start after that experience? Is that what happened?
Oh, yeah, no, I had already been practicing urine therapy for 5 years by the time, or probably 4 years, when I received 15% of my upper body burned in a sweat lodge by steam burns. So 15% of my upper body had first and second degree burns. On just like the arms, the face, the neck. I had an inhalation burn. I had some burns on my toes because we were in the sweat lodge and the whole bucket of water was spilt onto the hot rocks, releasing the hot steam. And there was 6 of us that were trapped. 6 managed to get out, but I was stuck at the back. So I was one of the last ones out. But I had been doing urine therapy for 5 years by that point, 4 or 5 years.
Okay, and so you actively utilize the urine therapy knowledge in your healing process, is that correct?
Oh, that is correct, yes. What happened was as soon as the bucket fell, we were told to stay down and remain covered, but there was some panic that went on, and 4 of us, we ended up, as soon as the smoke started, or the steam started to clear, we managed to crawl out, and the first thing I did was I realized I had an inhalation burn, and I had taken 1 liter of distilled water with me, and I placed it outside the sweat lodge, and I gave it to the woman beside me who was burned worse, and I gave her a drink of it, and then I told her I was going to pee in it, and what I did was I took a drink of the distilled water, then I squatted down and I peed into it. And then I drank it again and held it in my mouth for as long as I could. And then I poured it on the wounds. Immediately, I soaked all of the wounds. And then I put my shirt back on. I had a long sleeve shirt. And I put my long sleeve shirt back on. And I soaked it with the urine and the distilled water as well. And then I told them, we've got to get to the hospital. And they were like, what do we do? What do we do? And I said, well, the Indigenous First Nations treatment is to drink your own urine, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. You guys do what you want to do. This is what I'm going to do, and we got to get out of here, get to the hospital. So on the way to the hospital, I was also drinking what water I had in there as well. And then once I got to the hospital, I requested the containers of distilled water, and I started drinking those. And when the nurses and doctors would leave, I would urinate into the bottle, into my glass bottle again, and then poured onto the cloths that they had laid down and underneath my skin. And my skin was the first degree burns. So this was within an hour of being burned. The first degree burns were disappearing right in front of the doctor's eyes. And the nurse, and I remember one nurse saying to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, your burns, they're disappearing." I'm like, "Well, I'm putting my urine on them. It's a top secret Indian or indigenous treatment. This is what we do." And they kept saying, "Well, we got to call a doctor in here to take a look at this. I've never seen this before. What are you doing?" They just couldn't believe it. "What do you eat?" I'm standing there and I'm topless. This is my greatest ploy to run around naked in the hospital because I'm a nudist. So I'm standing there topless, bare-breasted. And first of all, they wouldn't believe me that I've lost 134 pounds and that I've got this list. I'm listing off my medical ailments, and they wouldn't believe me. Like, "Are you sure that you really have these things? Because you don't look it." And the burns were just disappearing. So the plastics department was consulted. They'd never really seen 5 women come in with burns like this before, and plastics said to treat, so they could have me admitted to the burn unit if I wanted, or just layer the wounds with polysporin and then saran wrap or pallet wrap to seal it in like a second skin. So I asked the doctor, "Great, can I put my urine down first?" And he said, "Sure, because it's sterile. You can put down the urine by the polysporin and then by the saran wrap." And then, so I said, "Okay, we'll do that." He said, "Try and keep it on for as long as possible. Change it twice a day, do 2 or 3 times a day, and go to the burn clinic the next day." So I followed his orders. The first night was very painful. And what I did was I went to the burn clinic the next day, and she peeled off the pallet wrap, and one of the blisters had already popped. And there was a huge blister that was about 5 to 8 inches long. And she said, and I have a witness, and I think I recorded it, that blister would be pussing and oozing by the end of the day. Quote unquote, pussing and oozing by the end of the day. And I looked at her, and I had a flashback of a picture of me in a dress at a gala event, and I thought, there is no way I'm going to have a scar on my shoulder for the rest of my life. If I followed their way that they say, yeah, I'll definitely have a scar. But if I follow the indigenous methods, I'll be fine. So I blended them together. And so I took her bandage off. As soon as I got home, I took her bandage off. And I put the urine on, the polysporin, and the saran wrap, and I taped it. And every morning and after lunch and every evening before I went to bed, I would wash it down with urine. And on days 3, 4, and 5, it was menstrual blood. And it was amazing because it was menstrual urine. And as I put that on, it stung like peroxide would on a wound, really hurt. But I could see the blood underneath the surface moving and coagulating around and healing. So I left it on for as long as I could, and then I put some of the aged urine on, sealed it back up, and I did this, I think it was on about day 17 to 20, somewhere in there. The blister popped, and it was brand new baby skin right underneath there, ready to go.
Wow.
Like I had never been burned.
Wow.
So still to this day, they can't make, I've got doctors that, again, will look at me and go, "I cannot believe you are a burn survivor. I wouldn't believe you unless I saw this on your medical record." And I had been practicing urine therapy, eating a clean diet for roughly 4 to 5 years at that point.
It's such a testimonial, really a remarkable story. And you're so beautiful. I have your photos here on my phone, and it shows your weight loss and your transformation, and there you are in that beautiful black gown. Now, if people want to find you, for our listeners, our guests, you do have a Facebook page, and do you have any other spots that people can locate and find you?
Yes, currently I'm on Facebook. All of any social media, you can search Standing White Buffalo and generally find me. I am on Facebook. I have the one testimony of me at urine therapy on YouTube, Standing White Buffalo, and I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. So, and Twitter is Standing White BU.
And
so I'm out there.
And I know we talked about this, and you know, who we are in our really indigenous beingness, and how our availability and our servitude stands in presence. And I know that you have a pretty big plate that you're catering at this point, I would imagine.
It's enormous, but apparently, you know, the Creator only gives us what we can handle. So I know I'm to lead the people out by practicing these ceremonies myself. I'm also the founder of a nonprofit organization, 2 of them now. And so I'm permanently disabled. I've lived like a colonialist, and that's what it did for me. It permanently disabled me, and now my job is full-time to get better. And that's what I will do, and I'll help lead people along the way, because that's what my people do. We help our neighbors, we help our family, and we're all related. We all have that indigenous blood in us. I laugh when people say that we're the First Nations are at war with the white people, because what we have done is we have infiltrated their families. We've married into their families and had their children. And we are the caretakers of the land. So we will always survive here, yes, no matter what.
Yes. And it's funny how both of us kind of ended up in that disability column. And, you know, that's how
you live like a white person, that'll do it to you.
Yeah. I mean, and that's how it really started for me 4 years ago, is being put on disability because of all my chronic pains and everything I was going through. And, you know, here I am a year in, and, you know, I take no medications, and, you know, I'm healing myself every day and being present and accountable on a mission with a purpose, and just trusting and allowing that whatever I'm here to do, it's appearing. And I experience such love and gratitude every day in a very humbled way. It's a beautiful experience of awakening.
It is, and I think part of the thing that we have to do is we have to hit rock bottom before we really, really decide if we want to live. And if you really, really want to live, you will drink of thyself and do urine therapy. You'll do it because you want to survive. And if you don't, well, then obviously you've got the suicidal ideology, and, you know, that's your path. So be it.
Yes. Yeah, and that's where I was 4 years ago as we speak. I was still waiting for neck surgery, which wasn't even included into my disability claim. And, you know, I was really just waiting to die. I was in just so much distress and pain. I couldn't drink enough and smoke enough pot. I just ate shitty and felt shitty and laid around and watched movies and played dead, really. And when I look back, I don't even know who that person is. Just somebody I used to know.
I know, it's remarkable.
Yeah. Somebody I used to know, like so many others.
Yeah. Well, and it's different stages of this game called life. You go through the different stages of awareness. If you don't learn the lesson and, you know, you hurt yourself on that level, you got to redo the whole level in order to get up that ladder into that state of heaven or being where it's complete peace.
Yes. And I am at peace. And I find that more with every breath I take. I just, I feel really, really at peace, just full of love, full of gratitude, and it just emanates. in my experience. I just breathe in love and exhale gratitude. I don't know what else to do, quite frankly. There is nothing else to do. What if nothing is something I love to do?
You're right. You can't hide from it. I went to an event and a gentleman came up to me and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You have this gold, silver aura," I think you said gold. He said, "I've never seen an aura like yours before." He said, "I've been seeing them for like 25 years and I have never once seen one like you. So I want to know who you are." It just emanates from you.
Yes.
You just step into it, right? And that's that light of Christ that people are waiting for to see. And it's in all of us.
Yes.
It's just, how disciplined are you? Are you really following that spirit of goodness, or are you going down those bad negative roads because you have to repeat the level?
Right. It's looking in the wrong direction, which is outside instead of inside.
Yeah.
And in the simplest terms. And that's all I ever assure anybody. I listen to a lot of really interesting people that bring a lot of wisdom to the table. And one of my favorite quotes that was from Alan Watts, he said, "Anyone who tells you that they can lead you to spiritual enlightenment is like somebody stealing your watch and trying to sell it back to you."
That's exactly it, because it's inside you.
It's already
you just
there.
have to turn the keys.
Yeah. So, I'm going to this retreat. Oh, yeah, really? Yeah, it's 7 days. Really? What do you spend? Oh, it's only $2,500, and I'm going to be saved and enlightened and all these things. Well, good luck on that one,
And one of the things for First Nations is I know I have all of these gifts, and one of the things is that I cannot charge for them. You can't put a dollar value on something and say, come to my retreat for 7 days and pay all of this money and I'll give you all of the secrets. That's not how it works.
No, I agree.
And
I totally agree.
Yeah, you get damage from that, right?
Yeah, it's jaded. It's a con job. It's an Elmer Gantry thing, if you understand that frame of reference. Starting out with a good intent and then becoming so embodied in an ego that you just get a king complex or something. That doesn't serve. It just doesn't serve.
No.
And that's why I choose to just give it away. It's like my poems. I just publish them because I want to and I can. And it's just a gift. I give it away every day. They just inspire and I publish them. People either resonate to them or they don't. I don't. That's not my job. My job is just to be.
You're just the messenger.
Yeah, it's just to be present and accountable. And I do the best I know how every day. I mean, yesterday was just such a testament to patience. Redoing the show 3 times and never having you appear. That was just crazy cool, because it was a whole exercise in patience, acceptance, tolerance, allowance, and just being with it, being in that moment. And you were cracking me up, about being on Indian time and all those things. That shit was hilarious.
Well, it's true. My second husband, we joke because he's on Jamaican time, and I don't know which one's slower, Jamaican or Indian.
The first time I ever heard that term, not particular to Indian time, but was in New York, and they called it CP time, and I found that to be consistent in a lot of different cultures. It's fashionably late or something, make an appearance.
3 hours later.
Yeah, make an entrance. I don't know. I always, I was just the opposite myself. My dad, he was always on time or early to any agreement he made, and I just instilled that as, and I consider it just respect of other people's time. If I make an agreement, I keep my agreement. As simple as that. Yes. And if it's going to change, I'll make sure I note that there's a change in the agreement. So, but I appreciate it. I do. Patience is the key. It is the key to all goodness, and there is no separation from that. Not in my eyes, not that I see.
No.
Yeah. So we were talking about, you know, an identity, and you told me the other day that I am a twin flame. Is that what you call it?
No, you are a two-spirit.
Two-spirit. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. I would, after speaking with you, like I've been watching you for a while, the true Indigenous woman who will watch the patterns and behaviors before we do anything. And then after speaking with you, it's evident to me that I would identify you as a two-spirit in my culture, in the Indigenous culture, because you are balanced in both the masculine and the feminine, and you are you're sacred in the sense of you're leading, and you're more balanced than the average individual. So you will advocate for both in equality. So for the First Nations, and this is why we're seeing the gender-neutral bathrooms and the I'm trying to think, what is the hashtag?
LGBTQINFO. I
don't know.
Yeah,
They're all labels.
Yeah,
this is why we're seeing this movement come up.
Yeah.
Is because we have to reconcile with the First Nations, and that is that two spirits are sacred. They are our judges. They're the ones that we go to for healing and for advice, because they're balanced in both the male and the female. Whereas, you know, as a female who identifies as feminine, who's only, you know, got the estrogen running around, they'd be more maternal that way. They wouldn't have that masculine view of things. So it's apparent to me that you would be a two-spirit.
Well, I read another one of my poems yesterday that goes back 2004 called I Am, and there is one line in there, I am the woman inside the man. And I am.
Just got to read the signs.
Yeah. And I think I told you, you know, my older brother, he does astrology and tarot and Chinese astrology and all that. And I got readings as early as 15 years old was the first time I had a reading. And in that reading, he told me that I am an Asian woman that's trapped in a big white guy's body. And I laughed. I didn't understand at the time, but over time it made more and more sense to me what that actually indicated, what it really meant, and I embody that. I do, and I embrace it. At this point, I understand it.
And I was such a tomboy that there was people in town that weren't sure if I was a boy or a girl, because I was so masculine and I was such a good sport and very athletic. So only when I grew breasts did people go, oh, she is a girl.
Hey, she's got boobies. You know,
exactly, right? But it was like I identified as a boy. I could run around and play with the boys and keep up with them. So, but to keep those labels on things where it's whoever's inside of you. You see the person, and I guess, I don't know if this is just an Indigenous thing, but you see the individual as a whole and not just as parts.
Right.
Like, oh, that one's got a penis, so that must be a boy. This one's got a vagina, that one must be a girl. You look past all of that and you see the spirit of the child. Hence how I got my name, because my grandmother saw the spirit of white buffalo calf woman in me, in the mannerisms and the behaviors and the way that I was acting and behaving. She saw a standing white buffalo calf woman. So not only just this white buffalo calf woman, but one that would stand up and talk about it and shout about it and advocate for it.
Yes. Well, and that's the whole thing, is understanding the spirit being, and that's who we really are, is spirit beings, you know, running around in these meat suits in a body. And when we can look past the body, the limits, the labels, and those conditions, it enables us to clearly see who we are, as well as others. And we can't see that in others until we see it in ourselves. It's simply like unconditional love. When you can absolutely unconditionally love yourself, you can employ that, you can embrace that, you can experience that with all others. regardless of who they are, what they're doing. That's moot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the Dalai Lama had stated in 2013, I think it was, at the Vancouver Peace Summit, or the World Peace Summit held in Vancouver, I'm not sure what it was called, but he had said it will take the women of the West to rise before we find world peace. Because the women have to look inside of themselves. We are spiritual beings having human experiences, and this go around, females were to be completely annihilated. When the hearts of the women are beaten, that is when the other side has won. So to go inside and to love thyself, your spirit is immortal. This is just another experience to add on to it.
Yes.
It's just skin. It's the flesh.
Well,
it's just
and then
packaging.
in limiting, which really was a shift from matriarch to patriarch, where a dominance became the rule, and the patriarchal thing is so archaic. It's it's just ridiculous, quite frankly. And even in the form of the Almighty God, you know, the bearded guy up in the clouds and whatever, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just bullshit.
But if I had an agenda to accomplish, and I wanted to accomplish it, it was a genius way to do it. Hands down. It amazes me the different rabbit holes that I go down and look at these things and how they did it and go, that is absolutely brilliant.
Right.
And then so sadistic at the same time. And then I think this was the Creator's plan all along.
Right.
And why would they do such a thing? To me, my analysis of that is that if I had two sick children and one was healthy and one was very, very sick, what would I do? Would I just let the sick one die? No. I would put the two of them together, and that healthy one would probably teach that sick one, and they hopefully would be able to find a middle.
Yes, it's the duality.
But they would both survive, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's just the Creator's plan, and I look up and I look down and I look everywhere because, you know, the Creator of our life is our planet, and every single day we destroy the planet. Not when we're looking up to the sky, right? Because that's the distraction, is they'll have you looking in the opposite direction. If that's one thing I have learned, is to go the opposite of what everyone else is doing.
Yes, that's
in order
been
to
my
get
whole
healthy.
life moniker. Whatever was going on Main Street, I was on B Street. I was in the alleyways going sideways somewhere. I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get in I couldn't get with the program and get in step with that marching order. I just never could pick up that one. You know?
I tried my best.
Yeah.
I blended. I did what they told me to do, and I followed the rules. And I'm a better person for it. But my gosh, I don't think I'd be disabled if I had gone the other way. But I certainly, you know, I wouldn't be the person that I am.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I had a huge Amway business, and so, you know, I was the suit with the red tie, you know, the power ties, and you know, I played all those identities, but I stayed with a sense of myself. At core, I really was counterculture. Yeah, that's why when the counterculture appeared for me, I felt an identification. I felt at home for the first time, you know, with the hippies and, you know, the Rainbow Warriors, the Rainbow Tribe, you know, all of those elements I felt akin to. And I never lost that spirit, regardless of how I showed up in, you know, whatever hat or suit I put on in the process of living itself. Those were all just stages.
Okay. Can I answer a question from Andrew Visker here?
Oh, certainly.
He asks, or they ask, because I won't assume his gender, or sorry, his. See how hard it is? Right? What do you think about the world leaders pushing for humans to merge with AI? And for people who don't know, AI is artificial intelligence. My opinion on this is that we are all related, all of us, to, you know, even the beings that we can't even see, the insects, everything. We are related, and we must all work together in order to achieve peace and happiness. What I'm seeing with artificial intelligence is because there's so many disabled people, or not disabled, apparently the label they like to use is persons with disabilities. Because the system has made so many persons with disabilities, we're going to have to move to an artificial intelligence world because the humans are falling.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's going to happen. I see AI taking over because they're just getting smarter and smarter. And it's survival of the fittest out here. So personally, I'm holding on to the old world as long as I can, in the sense of, you know, getting back to living off of the land and doing everything natural, not using online mapping system to get me from point A to B. I'll use an actual map, or I'll go by the markers, but then, you know, they knock down the trees and you don't know where you are anymore.
Right.
So,
well,
right, so it's happening regardless. Don't fight it, go with it.
Right.
Right, evolve with it.
I feel the same way, that it becomes moot to argue against these things, to be enraged, angry, upset, disillusioned, because it's all an illusion anyway. It is. If we understand the matrix, it's pretty clear that anything that ever was or will be already is. It's just what we pay attention to, what we focus on, we become.
Yes.
And so it's all inclusive. There is no original thought. And most of history was written by the victors and whoever was the publisher. So, you know, unless you get the real storytelling and the legends and understand where the true essence, I'd say probably the most important history book that was ever written was written by Howard Zinn. You know, and it was the real history of the United States or something like that. I forget the title, but it was authentic, and it came from the indigenous point of view, from every corner, every aspect, and everything that we've been led to believe is primarily lies, and that was on purpose.
They're just not truths, right? It's like they never really came and lied to you. They just didn't tell you the truth,
right?
Which is guilt by omission,
right?
But in order to get your money, because that's what it's all about. Follow the money, right?
Yeah,
and if you don't like the way the system's going, if you don't like AI, then don't buy stuff that is, you know, got that AI behind it. Research the companies. Vote with your dollars, because they will follow where the money goes. That's how the system works.
Well, it's even with Facebook and any of these other social medias. They're all AI, completely. They're all driven by it. And
well, yeah, they've been observing us and compiling data as to how do humans react.
Yeah.
So we've been the database creating AI.
Yes, exactly. We're just, we're feeders. We feed a system without even having, there is no person listening to you. It's not like that. You know, that everybody getting concerned about how all the surveillance, it's all AI, everything. It's all AI. There's very few people sitting and monitoring anything. I mean, if there's red flags, certain words, certain, you know, things, behaviors, whatever, they clue in on those. They get, you know, they get a tap on the shoulder to pay attention to this one or that one. But otherwise, it is what it is. And to argue with it or battle against it is batting at the breeze. It doesn't get anything accomplished. It won't change.
We have 2 more questions here.
Okay.
One from Carol Ann Kerr Gowen, who says, so does this mean you believe in the Big Bang Theory? I don't know what the Big Bang Theory is, because I've never seen it. So I don't believe anything that I can't actually put 2 and 2 together in front of me.
Yeah.
So I don't believe everything that I hear. So I can't comment on that one. Trunks Max says, I would love to come and stay with Leah Sampson. Is there a retreat or some getaway that teaches how to sustain life while raging against the machine? That retreat is inside their body.
Yes.
Their body. It is there. you just have to ask, and everything pops out for you.
Yes.
I think the Christians teach about ask and ye shall receive.
Right.
That's all you got to do. The sign will appear. The animals will appear. If you see a picture on Facebook of an elephant, type in elephant medicine totem. That's your sign, right? Research these things. It's all there for you.
Yes.
Personally, for me, I retreated into my house. I shut down. I turned off my television. I turned off my phone, my cell phone. Didn't have a cell phone for 6 months. It was wonderful. And that was my retreat. I really, really created it within my home. I'm standing right here, and I can see 8, 9 plants right in front of me. So I do a retreat every single day as part of my daily life. So until we each start to do that, you don't need to pay to go somewhere. You create it in your own world.
Yes, I agree. Totally. The truth is, within the experience is all an inside job. It just is. The universal mind supplies everything that we'll ever need. And need and want, these are things that keep us separated. Just the idea, the terminology. You just accept what is, that it already is. And get out of want.
And that's it. What do you really, really need in order to survive? Those are the basics. That's what I went down to. I started living like my Indigenous First Nations, in North America, in Germany, in France. I started implementing all of the little bits from all of the cultures in order to get healthy. It's all within you.
Yes. Yeah, and it's a path that's always happening. And it's not a race. There's so many paths to reach the mountaintop in a proverb or, an analogy. It's, whose path is the correct path? Yours. That's the correct path.
That's right. And we're all exactly where we're supposed to be, doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. I'm a perfectionist. I'm an all-star athlete, so I'm used to being the first one at the finish line. But not everybody is at that level, right?
Yes. Exactly.
And I don't think if a person knew all of the injuries that my body has sustained in this life, they wouldn't want to be the first person to cross the finish line. When you realize what I had to do in order to be the first.
Yeah, I so know. Yeah.
So it's like, go back down to what you basically need. Declutter your house, and as you declutter your house, you're living your everything in your life. You start to declutter from the machine, from the matrix, and you start to find that peace in heaven. Get rid of the chemicals. That's the number one thing I say it's my kryptonite, like to Superman.
Yes.
It's the chemicals. Get away from those, and you'll figure out more and more what you need and what you want. And there's not a lot of things that you really, really need.
Right, and those
Food,
chemicals
water.
actually include television, and other external sources of what I call mental masturbation. It's just fucking with your head. And,
we're like cattle at a trough, hey? Speeding it up. See, now First Nations, we call the TV a crazy box. You'd be crazy to believe that. Stuff that goes on there, that's crazy making.
Well, if you break down the word, it's tele-vision. It's a television.
Yes, so research quantum language. That was one of the things I figured out, and I went, oh my gosh, there's issues within my tissues. Look at that. I guess I better detox.
Yeah. It's so true, and it's the same for everybody. It's just that everybody has to recognize it within themselves and work at the level that they are. Except where they are is the perfect place to start. I just say, if not me, who? And if not now, when?
Well, yeah, and who's going to do it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Who's gonna make this world a better place for our children and our grandchildren? Well,
exactly.
I'm looking left and my right, and that's us.
Yeah.
So we better do something.
We are who we've been waiting for.
Yes, exactly. So get it together. I try and be as diligent as you can and disciplined. It takes a lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, I'm always thinking, I'm doing this for my future generations.
Yes. Yeah, I
and
feel the same way.
It'll be worth it.
Yeah, I do feel that way. Like I said, 4 years ago, I was waiting to die, and now I have no plan on it at all. And
yeah,
I'm getting younger. I know it. I feel it. I see it. Other people recognize it, and I intend to be around. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm at peace every day. I got no major agenda. I don't. I live every day as whatever it is, however it appears. It makes no difference. I accept the responsibility of whatever appears to me and address it accordingly based on what is required of me in any given moment, under any circumstance, regarding anything, anyone, anywhere. And
you're operating out of spirit.
Yeah, it's freedom in that. It's total freedom.
Right, but too many people are identifying with the flesh and what they see on television and reading the media and the newspapers, and so they get trapped into this thinking that they identify with the body and they fear death.
Yes.
Your spirit, your soul is immortal. You're just transitioning into another world. That's it. That's all. Your energy will still be here.
Yes.
You just won't have a voice or a physical body anymore. That's all. But you're going to come back just in a different form. So once we can get to that consciousness where we're not so identified with the body, I think we'll be much better. But it's gonna take a long time. I'm guessing 7 generations.
Yeah. Well, the universal mind is the true out-of-body experience. We can go out of body.
I'm there all day, every day.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to go anywhere to go
no,
out of body.
You don't. Yeah. I don't need to travel.
It's disco sun gaze. To me, going to sun gaze is like going to the disco. It's really amazing.
Yeah,
when I start, within moments, what happens for me every time is that the sun generates this giant blue. It's like the sun is presetting in this blue circle, and then it starts narrowing down, and I can see this like constant. It's like a movement like this that goes around and around the corona of the sun. It's
I
really
call that the heartbeat.
It's truly amazing, and then color and spectrums and wheels, and it's like having to hit a MDA DMT. That psychedelic.
I've never done that.
Yeah, I've only done it once, and
no. Apparently, we release it when we cleanse the pineal gland.
Yes.
That we're creating natural DMT, and then when you're putting your urine back in, you're basically recycling it, getting even more and more.
It's exactly it. And I've only had it once, and it wasn't that long ago. It was back in December, and I never even really paid attention. I never, in all the psychedelics I did in my life, it's just something I never even recognized or realized, but it took me to a place I just had never experienced, even with all the psychedelics I took in my life. And it was 15 minutes. It was like 20 minutes. It was wow. I just was like blown away by what I experienced. And I recently heard Terrence McKenna, it was referring to a friend, and he said, the person, he was asked, what's the most psychedelic trip? What was the best trip you ever had? And the guy said, it was DMT. And he goes, well, when was that? How long, when did you do that? That was 1967. And it was the last time he did it, they did it like, and I agree. I don't need to do it. I was glad I did because it gave me a understanding of the power of the own mind and what we can actually do within ourselves. It's really a fascination. to recognize it from an organic source and not have to be stimulated by, taking a hit, so to speak. So, yeah, it was pretty fascinating, though. A real awakening.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's used indigenously, the ayahuascas, the peyote, the mescaline, the shrooms.
Yeah, but we don't.
These
What's
are
happening nowadays is it's being abused and it's not being treated with respect. And when you stop respecting the ways of life and the universal laws, that's when we get into trouble, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing
well,
people that
instead
shouldn't
of
be
being
using it, using
shamanistic,
it.
it was always shamanistic, taking you on a guided tour to the potential of the mind.
Yes.
And now it's just abuse, as you said. It's, out of control.
Yep.
Yeah. So, anybody else have any questions for our beautiful, lovely, delightful guest? I so love you, Leah. This is so charming and lovely, and you're just such a great. I can't wait to give you a hug.
I'll give you a virtual hug right now.
Yeah, big time. You are such a gift, and I so appreciate you making time again today to make this happen. I knew this would be an important conversation. And I appreciate people that came in today and joined us again to allow this to happen in the way it has. So it's a happy Valentine's gift.
It is. This is my love to everyone, to put it out there for ever and ever. I'm just reading the comments here. What did I learn from Germany? Carol Ann Kerr Gowen asks, what did I learn from Germany? Lots. Lots. Well, first of all, Adolf Hitler used fluoride. He experimented with fluoride in his concentration camps. If he put in too much, it killed the prisoners. And if he put in the right amount, it made them docile and compliant. So, which made me put two and two together as to, well, if Adolf Hitler used that in the concentration camps, why is it in my water?
Yeah, sodium.
And then,
sodium fluoride. They use it as rat poison.
Yeah, right. So then the First Nations in me goes, well, okay, in the art of war, what is the first thing that they do? Is they take out the water supply. So of course there's bacteria and parasites and toxins and chemicals in the water supply. So what should I do? I'm going to start drinking distilled water because it's the purest rainwater. It's man-made. It's artificial intelligence rainwater nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. Coming out of
right, and by drinking. Yeah.
Coming out of steam factories.
My own urine. Totally.
Yeah.
So by drinking my own urine, what will happen is I will be able to drink clean, pure water because the planet is becoming more polluted every single day. Now, once we start planting hemp, we'll start to repair it, but that's still going to take generations. So in 20 years, the water is going to be even more polluted, which is going to make me even sicker. So drinking urine is a water conservation strategy, is something that I figured out in this whole thing. Germany also learned that they're very big. The doctors will give them kits on homeopathic kits with herbs in it to treat ailments. A lot of things, both sides. It was amazing to implement. I'm trying to think of the word that they call a person who practices all the different cultures and religions.
A philosopher?
And implement them. I don't know what it is, but that's what I am. And I go out and I look at all the different cultures and I go, okay, well, Jehovah's Witnesses, why don't they do blood transfusions? Why don't, what's kosher? Why do they do that, right? Why won't they do these things? Well, blood has got memory. So you've got all of that blood memory going into you, plus it's frozen. So once you freeze something, it's processed and it's distorted. All of these different things, and I look at it and I go, okay, well, these seems to be the commonalities in the religions and the cultures that work and therefore are healthy. So I'll implement those in my life. But the ones that aren't healthy, get away from me.
Yeah.
Because I want to survive. I want to live.
Well, Trunks Max, before the comment went by already, but she said that she was living on reservations and tribal until she became a San Jose resident. And
Excellent.
So, yeah. And,
well, and that's,
also
I think, the only way we're
commented,
going to survive.
and also comment, aren't we all indigenous? And that's my feeling.
Yes,
we
absolutely. We are, I totally agree. We are indigenous to wherever we are born. You know, and even then beyond, what alien planet did you come from? Where's your DNA from? That's where you're indigenous to.
Yes.
But we're all related. I just, to try, because there's so many different levels of awareness I find nowadays, that there's some people that are really, really awake and they don't need the labels, and there's some people that do need the labels.
Right.
So sometimes I go the whole spectrum.
Yes. Well, Carol Ann repeats, so does that mean you believe in the Big Bang? And I'm going to answer that. It's, you know, belief is belief. And, you know, you have to understand how deep that can run contrary to what we experience. So we can believe all sorts of things, but is it really what we're experiencing and witnessing and knowing and allowing? These are all different. But your response.
To Carol Ann, first of all, no, my family is German. I'm a Sager. For the Big Bang, basically, I would state then that in that theory that everything is continually to evolve, it just keeps going and going and going. It's like we're on a computer program, and it just continues to go and go and go and go.
Yes.
So if you want to call it Big Bang, I'll call it a computer program, because they're the same kind of thing. You know what's sort of going to happen, but there's always a glitch somewhere.
Well, I'll share something with you, and I'll just put it in a summary. It's a piece I also wrote a long time ago, and it's entitled "Life, the Giant Tape Machine." And like a tape machine, our life has a series of buttons that we can select and push. One of them is rewind. And when we're in constant rewind, we're dragging around the past. There's fast forward, which is always projecting the future. Right in the middle is play, which I recommend highly to everybody. You want to play. You want to be in that moment. Now, also, there's a couple more buttons. One is stop, which is sometimes we just need to screech the brakes and stop what we're doing. Another one is pause, and pause is an important one. It's important to reflect. So there's times when, even though we're at play, we might want to pause and reflect. But the real critical button is the record. And you want to be really cognizant of what you actually record and what you store into the memory and the belief system and whatever else is going to convolute and clutter our consciousness, because we can clutter up our consciousness pretty effortlessly without even paying attention or knowing how we're doing it.
Yes, I have a photographic memory, and so I input details. I collect data, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so smart, is because that's my hobby, is I like to collect information and data. But the problem is I collect too much.
Yes.
And it just clouds everything. So it is very difficult.
Yes. Well, I'm the same way. I have a memory that won't go away. I have deep files. We discussed that in our conversation. And so I'm very selective. And that's why I've dropped a lot of bannerism. I mean, I can go down some rabbit holes, deep ones, and I know how to pull up files that'll fuck anybody up. But I just choose in love. I'm choosing that directive. The rest of it is just noise to me anymore. It's a distraction. It's an alienation. It's a separation, and it has no purpose in serving me, or the community that I want to be of service with and to. So
Yes.
I let that stuff go, but people want to bring up those things. Generally, when those things do come up, it's argumentative. People want to be right, even though they may be incorrect. And
Yeah, they're talking in ego, though.
yeah, and I just don't bother. I used to. It was important to me. I needed to be significant. Yeah.
That's right, and that's the insecurity. That's the human evolving.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another question here from Michelle Montgomery, who asks, how long have you been putting urine on your skin besides drinking it? For myself, I one of the first things I did was I was so sick that I would collect my urine and put it in the bathtub with me. And recreate the amniotic fluid or the amniotic sac and the rebirth, because I knew I had to get to a sweat lodge, but I couldn't do it because I wasn't connected into my community at that point. So I'd collect my urine, put it in the bath with baking soda, Epsom salts, sometimes ginger root, essential oils, because the smell was so bad. I was on 7 prescriptions back then, and detoxing was difficult. So, and then I think we didn't figure out about the body scrubs. Like Monica didn't really come out of the woodwork until a couple of years ago. We were on originally Andrew Norton Weber's site, where I met allegedly known as Dave for the first time, and then we started getting into the body rubs.
Yes, and it was Monica shoot. Chunga Choranga.
Yes.
She's the one who guided me into aged urine, body rubs, enemas, and Rosalind Hanson too. These were both very, and they still are. I consider them my great mentors. Yep. They've been very beneficial to my elevation and understanding and application of the urine therapy in so many variable ways that I practice today.
I totally agree. I have to give a shout out to allegedly known as Dave, who, when I asked in one of the groups, what is the best resource to submit as evidence to the International Criminal Court, he came back with Martha Christie's book, Your Own Perfect Medicine, with chapter 4, having all of the medical files that she could find as evidence of, Big Pharma using it. So that's sitting at the ICC, thanks to Dave.
Yeah, and Dave is how I found urine therapy. I was watching his Flat Earth videos, and then one with Andrew Norton Weber, where they were talking distilled water, and then urine therapy came out in the conversation. I went, wait a minute, what? What did they just say? And so I binged. That was a little over a year ago, and I just binged on urine therapy for 2 straight days of knowledge. So just watching one YouTube after another, and by the 3rd day I said, what am I waiting for? And I started and never looked back. And that's
I had a high school friend come out and share it with me. So it wasn't somebody on the internet, so to speak, but it was information provided to me on the internet. One thing I found when I first started, and I don't know if you did as well, was the heart palpitations. And it literally felt like I was getting an oil change, like I was a vehicle getting an oil change, and I was going from jittery and really, really rough, unlubricated parts to suddenly becoming lubricated and feeling that fountain of youth.
Yes.
So that was one thing, and a girlfriend who started urine therapy a few years later, she found the same thing.
Well, and that was my direct result experience of looping and distilled water, which I was consuming approximately a gallon between the 2 a day, and only ate quick food. And I did all this relentlessly for weeks, but within 10 days, I went from decrepit hands to fluidity and movement. So I recognized the decalcification was accelerating. And I recognized it in a physical form because that's all arthritis, bursitis, tendonitis, hardening of the arteries. That's all calcification, ossification. Yep. And once we can clear it.
I've got the paperwork.
Yeah.
I've got the paperwork that confirms with medical tests that it actually works.
Yes.
And what happened was I went to my doctor because my hands were so decrepit that I couldn't brush my teeth, I couldn't brush my hair. I was crying in pain, going, my arms won't work. So listen, God, I'm gonna take my life. Like, I've had enough. And if you don't give me the answers, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I prayed to God and I said, I will do whatever you tell me to do. And the voice came back and said, you're gonna have to drink your own urine. And so I took it to my doctor and I took Martha Christie's book, and I said, I want to do urine therapy and I want to follow the protocols that are in this book. And my doctor looked at me and laughed and said, what's urine therapy?
Mm-hmm.
But I was in so much pain and that nothing else had worked. So they said, okay, yeah, what I'll do is I'll do your blood work today. You start drinking a quarter to a half a cup of your midstream collected after 3 o'clock in the morning for 1 month. And then you come back and you go back to the lab and you get your lab work done. And then we will look at this and see if this really works. And I said, great. Well, I was feeling so good, like I'd been drinking 2 Red Bulls every day, that I went to the lab and I got it done 3 weeks later. And what we did was we originally measured, it's called an ESR. And that's I can't remember what the E stands for, but it's a sedimentation rate. And it measures the level of inflammation in your body, which is the tendinitis, the plaque, everything that's building up.
Yes.
Causing the pain and causing that body not to move anymore. So mine, it was at 48 when I started drinking distilled water, and then it went up to 53. And I thought, okay, well, I'm drinking distilled water, I'm doing the juicing, this isn't working, I got to do something else. That's when the urine therapy came in. So at 53 was the first day I started, well, the day before I started. 3 weeks later, it was at a normal 18.
Wow. Yeah.
And the doctor would have never, she said, I would have never believed you that urine is what actually made the difference, but you proved it to me.
Well, I had a similar experience last physical that I had, which was last year on my 64th birthday, which I did on purpose. And my doctor, he's Filipino, and urine therapy is well recognized and practiced. It's even used in wedding ceremonies in the Philippines. But he had known that I had gone vegan. He'd known I had quit drinking. He'd known these things, but he didn't know about the urine therapy, which I'd been practicing for a good 5 months prior to that visit. And I'd already had the hand surgery on one hand and decided that was a mistake, but I lived with it. But I brought it up with him, and I said, dude, urine therapy is the key. It totally... It's like the magic cure-all. And so he did all of the usual tests, stick his finger up my ass and squeeze my balls and, do the blood and all that bullshit. And after it was all said and done, he goes, well, I guess I'll see you in a year, because he knew that he had lost a customer. I said, you can just eliminate all those meds off my chart, because I quit taking them 5 months ago, and I have no intention of redoing them at all. None. And so, yeah, it was pretty profound. He just looked at me and went, wow, good for you, But he knew he lost the customer.
Doctor.
Yeah.
I asked my doctor, I don't want to take these prescriptions anymore. Wean me off. And the look of, oh my goodness, this person has figured it out. They're no longer going to be a customer. I'm going to lose a customer, but they're the patient, and I'm supposed to be doing what's in the right interest of the patient. They have no choice.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, I can see why nobody shared about it, because, who would run around and say, drink your own urine? It's free. Yeah. I'm not going to make any money off of it.
They're going to go out of business.
Because it'll keep you healthy.
They're going to go out of business. Now, Trunk, she says, I've noticed that while I'm Sundays, I guess sun gazing, and people around me just look at me like, what the hell is this person doing, just staring into the sun? And I'm just so lost in it. I'm just so connected to the rays of the sun that I notice that I'm being sort of stared at, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just continue to gaze, and that's good for you. Sun gazing is very powerful. Very
it is.
powerful.
Now,
yeah.
The earthing at the same time is important as well. So to connect your bare feet to the earth or your body or whatever and stare at the sun at the same time. And you are going to get people that are going to stare at you. My son, I was outside in the backyard lying naked on the Earth with my arms and my belly right against Mother Earth because I was in so much pain. I had a house coat over top of me, and I hear this voice from the backyard, or the back door. Mother, what are you doing? Like 10 o'clock at night, face down, I'm on the earth naked.
Yeah.
When you are in that much pain, you will do anything.
Yes.
And sun gazing helped, earthing, going organic. Even my clothes are cotton or natural fibers. I'll stay away from plastic, chemicals, anything that I can't pronounce or that's got an MSDS sheet. You can bet I don't want it in my life.
Yes.
And it's going back to those old traditional ways that is actually going to help heal us. So yeah, you need your smartphone. Well, okay, don't look at the screen after when the sun goes down, because you're screwing up your melatonin. Your body thinks it's June 21st every day of the year, you know, and it's 24/7 sunlight. So no wonder we're seeing all of this illness.
Yes.
Because we've lost that connection to Mother Earth.
Well, and also it's been noted in study not that long ago, a year or two ago, that the number one vitamin deficiency in the American culture was vitamin D. You know, speaks volumes. It just speaks volumes, you know, because all that you need to do is get, like, really a matter of minutes, 10 or 15 minutes of sunshine will absolutely OD you on a vitamin D requirement. Simple. Yeah. Why people take supplements is beyond me, but to each his own.
And
you know?
That's what they did to the Indigenous First Nations in the residential schools, is they experimented on the children to figure out, well, if we deprive them of vitamin D, what diseases are going to present? What about vitamin C? What diseases are going to present?
Right.
And then they experimented with the medications to figure out what medications will work. So, you know, we took one for the team. Huge. Hope you appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a question here from Andrew Visker, who would like to know, how did you transition from your meds after starting UT and the time period? I was on 7 different prescriptions, and some of them I could quit cold turkey, and some of them I had to wean myself off. So for Tylenol 3, it took me about 5 months to wean myself off of 2 Tylenol 3s every day. And I was also on Effexor for depression. So that one was a slow reduction. I was like at 225 or something, which was an obscene amount for a woman, but it makes sense as to why I was so obese. So that one had to be weaned down. So from 225, then to 200, you know, to 2. I remember taking 2 of the 75s at one point. And so it was a slow progression. Synthroid for thyroid, I did that one. I quit cold turkey. And I supplemented with iodine and fruits and vegetables that support thyroid function. And within that month, my doctor had noted my thyroid levels were okay, but that's a long time thing to work to get that thyroid functioning after all of the fluoride damage. I was also taking Zopiclone, which is a sleeping pill, every night. So I had to start implementing what I remember the Alberta Children's Hospital telling me it was sleep advice on how to get a good night's sleep. So I'd implement these types of things, like no computer devices in your bedroom. Get rid of the clock radio as well. Don't watch television after dark. You know, do your yoga, meditate, start tuning, like work with the sun versus against it. So I implemented that and put in the healthy sleep patterns as I weaned myself off of those meds. I was on Ativan at one point for anxiety, so I did cognitive behavior therapy as well as trying to figure out what causes anxiety. Well, chemicals for me will make me anxious in a snap your fingers fast. Just like that, I can turn. And it's the chemicals that seem to do it. So I reduced that, and I was able to reduce the meds. I'm on year 6 now. So I've been doing urine therapy since 2012. And from my research, it will take 7 years for me to start really seeing some really good results. And it took me about 5 years of some pretty intense pain. and detoxing. I remember at one point I could only get to Costco, and I couldn't even push the cart because I was so exhausted. And this is one of the signs of detoxing too fast, is the chronic exhaustion.
Yes.
So to go to your doctor and say, listen, this is what I'm doing. You know, I wouldn't recommend what Casey did here by just going hardcore, or just by stopping and then telling the doctor after the fact. Because
I don't know.
Some bad shit could have happened.
I did a lot of detoxing
attack.
with the fasts and stuff. It certainly was a bumpy ride at times, but my spirit was really enhanced. Yeah. And it really, what it all boiled down to is that I replaced all those meds and all of my my bad thinking and all those things with vitamin P. And it's the only thing I take is vitamin P.
Well,
and it works for me.
That's another thing I'm finding, is that vitamin P is that you're recycling whatever you're detoxing and whatever you're putting in. So I switched all of those for medical marijuana prescription, and I was one of the first 40,000 patients in Canada to get a medical marijuana prescription, and there was only THC. It was one plant, and it was THC. So I was recycling that, and I have hypersensitivity to everything to start with, so I got super high, and then the pain really, really hit me.
Curious. So that's curious.
Yeah, you gotta be really careful.
Yeah. And that's why I don't really tell people what to do. I just tell them what I did, and what worked for me. That's it. I'm not a doctor, and I don't claim to be.
No, I tell everybody, go to your doctor.
Yeah, and it's a process. Every body is different. Every single person has a different set of circumstance. I can't predict or dictate what's going to work for anybody. I know what worked for me. And, drinking my pee was really the simplest term. I included a lot of the aspects of the therapy, including enemas, body rubs, and drinking through the nose, and all those things. But really, in the simplest terms, the bottom line is I drink my pee, and I do it every day.
Yes.
And with that, it works for me. Works effortless. Yep. It's effortless.
Yep. It's amazing. I'll use it for eye drops, ear drops, washing my hair. As soon as I start to feel a little bit of a tickle in my throat, I'm gargling. I'm putting urine compresses. The first thing people, when they say, oh my gosh, I'm not drinking my urine. Well, I understand, because I was at one point there too, and I had to be in a lot of pain. Start by the first time you cut yourself or you burn yourself, throw some urine on it.
Yes.
Watch it heal.
Yes.
You'll become a believer.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, people know about the snake bites, the bee stings, the jellyfish, and all of those things, but it works the same way in every aspect. You can piss on your athlete's foot and it'll just go away. I mean, it's really it's pretty simple like that. It's really simple like that.
See, and I wouldn't say it's just going to go away, because the original,
well, certain people, they testimonial that
yes,
you know what I mean.
But
if you look at Martha Christie or John Armstrong or any of these others, they'll tell you, I'll give you a case, and one case can represent a million cases of the same circumstance. So I make reference to those reference books. Totally.
Yes, and I know that from my research, athlete's foot is mold in the body. So if you can pee on it, you might get rid of the athlete's foot.
Yeah, topographical.
But that mold is but the mold is still in your body. You got to get down to the root of the problem. And once you can get to the root of the problem, and then instead of just treating the symptoms, if you can get to the root, then you'll be cured.
Yeah. Carol Ann wants to know if you speak German. She lived there for 16 years.
No, I do not.
Yeah.
I'm completely colonized English, and I don't speak any German.
English is still a foreign language to me.
it's a foreign language to all of us. It's adverb, verb, fiction. It's not even legitimate. It's
No,
like,
it's
can we please go to telepathy?
Yeah.
But I see they're going to pictures quite a bit, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. So, I speak a little.
And that's indigenous.
I speak a little Spanglish.
Spanglish. And it's amazing because you can say one word and people can. I'm going to say a word right now in English, and I want you to tell me what word I said. So I'm going to say the word two. So did I just say T-O, T-O-O, or T-W-O?
Yes, exactly.
Well, there's 3 words right there. So it's such a messed up language.
Yeah.
All of them are.
and it was created that way on purpose. It's spelling is under a spell.
Yes.
And I, being dyslexic, I had a lot of challenge as a writer, and I knew I'd write words, and I still face it today because I write everything in longhand in notebook before I ever word process. And I'll find I'll be writing a word, and I'll be on the 3rd letter of that word, and I wait a minute, you missed a couple letters there, bro. And so I use the dictionary. I always have. I still do. As a part of my curriculum, I use the dictionary a lot. And what I discovered in the process of attempting to phonically find the word, which sometimes was nearly impossible because of the way I phonically was reading it or seeing it in my mind, was so far distant from the actual spelling. But what I discovered with the dictionary is that the majority of the language is very negative in connotation.
Yes.
And it enlightened me to start being more responsible and being impeccable with my words, and being very cognizant of the words I choose selectively, and eliminating the ones that have no service, that they basically sabotage you.
Yeah, there's so many words to use. Many.
There's options. Yeah. It's like sorry. Now I hear people with this one, and it's a reflection of their own low self-esteem. I'm sorry. And I say to them,
no, Canadians are taught to say sorry. That's the first thing that comes out of our mouth.
Yeah.
That's what we're taught.
And
sorry.
when people tell me that, they go, I'm sorry. And I said, don't be sorry. It doesn't look good on you.
Ah, yes.
Because you can choose, excuse me, pardon me, I apologize. I mean, there's so many alternatives that are much more user-friendly and instead of being self-loathing and self-abusing, they're more empowering and more appropriate.
Yes.
In their usage.
Okay, we have 2 questions. We have 2 questions here that have come in. We have Michelle Montgomery. Let's go to Denise Martin first, who says, how do you do your hair with it? For your hair, is it used as a rinse or you leave it in? And Michelle would like to know, has it done anything for your teeth and gums? So for my hair, and I noticed this with you too, Weedu there, is that the hair is becoming lighter and blonder.
Yes.
I'll capture it and I will shampoo my hair with it. So I'll soak my hair with urine, then I'll shampoo it, then I'll rinse it off with urine and water, and then put more urine down, and then put the conditioner in, and then rinse it off with urine as well. And my hair, I've got a girlfriend who can't believe how fast my hair grows and how thick it is now compared to what it used to be. For my teeth and my gums, my dentist, oh my poor dentist, this was funny. I go to my dentist for my cleaning, and the hygienist, she says, your teeth, they're so white, what do you do? And I said, you sure you want to know? She said, well, yeah, of course. So I said, well, I drink my own urine. I'll brush my teeth with it. I will swish with it. I'll gargle. Anytime I brush my teeth, I put my toothpaste, and then I'll use urine instead of water, and I'll brush my teeth with that, and then I'll rinse after with urine. And my dentist then comes over, because the hygienist is like, I can't believe this, you have to tell the dentist. So the dentist come over, and he didn't say anything at first, and then he said, you have such healthy gums. what are you doing? So I explained my diet, and I told him about the urine therapy, and he said, geez, you keep doing this, you're going to put me out of business.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
did dentists recommend fluoride? And that's a good question too. And me, I don't use any process of anything. I only use pee. I just I put it in my hair and call it good. That's it. You know, I put it in and fluff it out and just let it be, and it works fine for me. That's my process. I don't shampoo. I don't condition. I don't do any of those things as a part of the process at this point. Just stop doing it.
Yeah, I've got so much hair, and I don't know, for some reason girls are supposed to smell good, so I'm still doing the shampooing. I'm in a climate where I'm actually going to go and look at the meter right now and see what it says. We have 24% relative humidity right now. So that just sucks all of the moisture out of everything.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I never experienced anybody like looking at me like, wow, dude, you reek. Never.
Oh, I have been called piss breath before.
Yeah, I don't experience it. I just, it never occurs. It never appears where anybody ever looks at me, or, you know, you can tell, you can read, I can read energy. I know we talked about it. You can read energy. Yeah. And I just never experienced that from anyone. Ever.
I've got a lot of negative energy around me because it's everywhere. But yeah, they'll try and hold your frequency down in order to. Misery loves company.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
We
and some people like drama. Some people like to pull the sympathy card. It's just the way it is. And they get a lot more attention with the negative than they think they'd get with the positive. And I've even had people, and they always put the LOL, you know, you're always so damn happy. You know, you piss me off sometimes. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Glenn Dixon asks, he has a question. Have you ever experienced David Windmiller's quantum language, sorry, he said David Miller, but I know it's David Windmiller. Quantum language, parse, syntax, grammar. And yes, Glenn, I have actually spoken with David Windmiller. And I'm trying to think, there's a First Nation, I'm going to say Cheyenne. No, it's not Cheyenne. There's a First Nation down in the United States that actually used it as well in their documents. So yes, I understand the quantum language and the adverb-verb fiction. So I use that in our documents as well at the International Criminal Court. I didn't put it into quantum language, parse, syntax, grammar because they thought we were crazy to start with, but because we were doing things the ancient indigenous, you know, the way the system started in order to take it over, so to speak. Trunks also asked, does anyone know what the effects of urine on Diomex mites are? I can't imagine that urine will destroy mites, but I would estimate that apple cider vinegar with tea tree oil, and what else would I use for mites? Lavender would be good. There's a few that would destroy it. Clove oil would be excellent. So what if I was to have mites, that's exactly, I'd be putting those everywhere, spraying everything down with apple cider vinegar, tea tree oil, clove, and a few other essential oils that are really good for parasites.
There you go. Yeah. Me, I always piss on it.
Well, yeah, but it's urine is not, it's sterile, right? So it's not necessarily going to destroy a parasite. Now, I was doing that for a while too. I was like, oh, I'm washing my hands with my urine. It's getting rid of everything. And then I thought, no, it's not. It's sterile. It's not a disinfectant, so to speak.
Well, I use it to wash my dishes, my laundry. I mean, I just use it. I don't know. It works. I like it because it works. It's simple. I know what its content is. Doesn't cost me anything. I don't have all that extra expense at the store buying any additional kind of products. I know, just works.
Ultimate water conservation.
Yeah. And
See, I found I got sicker.
I don't know. You keep seeing these questions, and I keep looking over there, and I go, where did that question come from? I didn't see it, so I don't know.
Oh, I'm looking on the computer live feed while I'm on my ancient iPad here too.
Yeah, and I've been looking at it too. I don't stare at it, but as the comments roll by, so I'm not ignoring.
Yeah, no.
anybody.
Sometimes I find they don't pop up in the feed.
I'm not ignoring them. If I spot them, I'll bring them out. But I'm glad you are.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah, no, this is so delightful. I've really enjoyed this time, and yeah, what a gift you are.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. One thing I also wanted to share was the foot baths with the urine therapy. Detox every spring with several foot baths in the urine. I'll just take it's a Dr. Scholl's foot bath thing, and I won't heat the urine at all. I just like to aerate it, and I'll sit and detox with that. I've done a few urine enemas as well. But what I'm finding is the longer I do it, the faster I recover from everything.
Yeah, and I do the rubber boots. I did them yesterday. I love it. And I heat it just a bit because the boots are like ice and they're cold. So I just heat it just slightly, just warm it. And I love it. I put on thick socks and pour them in my rubber boots. I put on cotton gloves and pour them in. I have big industrial rubber gloves. So I do hand and feet in that way. It works for me. It's very soothing. And I can feel the squishy walk around, and do other things and walk around and all that. Yeah.
We are true pioneers.
Yeah. And Rosalind Hanson turned me on to the boots, and Linda Maris turned me on to the glove thing, something she does. And I said, wow, that makes sense. I think I'll do that. And so, yeah, it works for me. I like it. Ideally, we don't want to be in the plastic. We want to be in earth-made materials. Yes, right? I agree. And I just do what works for me.
Yeah, and people will know this. I find if I'm using too much urine, my tongue will turn white, and I'll start to get too anxious, or I'll start to get I'll start to feel like something's off, and that's when I know, okay, I'm doing too much urine. Go slower. It's not a race.
Right.
It's a progression.
Yeah, and this is something I assure people, is that you need to listen to your body, and you need to trust your instincts and experience whatever it is that you're experiencing, because every body is different. What I experience has nothing to do with what you're going to experience, and that goes for the detox too.
Yeah.
Detox is serious business. Anybody who thinks that that's just a walk in the park has got a big surprise coming. Detoxing is a kick in your ass, man. You'll find out what you're made of, but it's healthy. Detoxing is extremely healthy, and eliminating parasites, extremely healthy.
Yes, but I wish I would have known the signs of detox first, like if you're going too hard and what to do. They call it herxing, Herxing. And it's the body, it's going too hard, too fast, and to slow down. There's parasites within us that we must, they must remain alive in order for us to function. And you can't destroy all of them. Right. You have to find that balance.
Well, it's no different than the inorganic materials as opposed to organic materials. There's a requirement of those materials, but our body contains those organic materials. And so inducing inorganics, as in mineral water and these things, I don't think are supportive. That's my point of view, that they leach. And the distilled water is like a positive magnet, goes in and on embeds them from our cells. And I think it's healthy. That's my point of view.
You know what? It's pretty simple. And I'm just going to say this, but we get our nutrients from the soil, not the water. So why are people putting these fake nutrients into the water? And they're not really in there to start with. So you go to your soil for your nutrients. If you want the nutrients, go to juicing. You're going to juice vitamin C. You get some oranges. You know, get the citrus fruits. Get the ones that are high in vitamin C.
Yes.
That's where your nutrients come from. It does not come from pure, clean water. And you will get the leaching of the plastic. So I try to avoid plastic of all kinds. Plastic is an endocrine disruptor. Plastic is oil. So it's an oil byproduct. So what happens when you smother a lake in oil? It stops breathing and life dies. Our bodies are no different. So every time you touch the plastic, you're absorbing it and you're disrupting your endocrine system, and it mimics estrogen. So I predict that the future is going female because of all of this estrogen plastic in our ecosystem. And it's fine. We've got parthenogenesis. Women can procreate without mankind. We've done it before with the legends of the Virgin Mary's birth. That's what parthenogenesis is. We have reptiles that still can reproduce. We're going female. So men, if you want to destroy mankind, being men, keep doing what you're doing. But women will survive. We've got the womb in order to carry the babies.
Well, I know that my little Asian woman that lives inside of me, she's good. She's really good.
Yeah, well,
she rocks. I feel good about her.
People do not recognize that, the penis is an external vagina. The testes are ovaries.
Yes.
They're just external.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes. True. It's very true.
That's why they fit together so well.
Yeah, like glove in hand.
Yep. There you go. And that's the pipe, right?
Insert here.
The pipe. Common sense.
Oh,
and then, sex is becoming even so abused. It's an ancient sacred ceremony to procreate life. And here we use it for shits and giggles like it's a recreational sport.
Yeah.
And it's not.
I agree.
It's not. So if you're not having babies, why are you really having sex? It's an addiction. You need to feel good.
And I have that addiction. I have remained single and have abstained for 10 years now.
Good for you. All of that energy that you're storing up in your body.
Yeah, and I'm saving it for I'm saving it for the right person. Mm-hmm. So, and
perhaps the right person is yourself, hey?
Well, yeah, no, and I already recognize that. That's not even a question in my mind anymore. Not at all. Yeah. But there is somebody that I have a little twinkle in my eye about. So we're just taking our time. Allowing it to be.
Yes. Monica noted here on the thread that except soil doesn't have the same mineral content that it did 50 years ago.
That's true.
And she's correct.
Yes.
It doesn't. And, for example, my grandmother survived the dirty 30s. So what nutritional deficiencies did she have? Or did she experience? Because they were passed on into her body and subsequently into me. So everything is becoming more depleted year after year. So put it back in. Put your ashes from any fires back into your garden.
Well, and urine too. Urine really works.
Yes,
we did a special show on that very subject of organic gardening with urine, and a lot of really powerful information came out of that dialogue. Really powerful.
Yes, it is. And where they're experimenting in agriculture with this. So they've got the ratio down about 1 to 10. I do it. That's another thing, is putting the moon blood, the menstrual blood, back into the soil as well is very important.
Yes.
For me as a woman during my moon time, you won't see me. I'm off the grid and I'm not allowed to speak with men. And because I can absorb their energies, and I'm supposed to be cleansing. I'm supposed to remember as a woman who I am and what I'm here to do. And so every 28 days, I'm blessed with a few days of peace and quiet. So this is a very important ceremony that has to come forth as well, that people have to do if we really want to find peace. So it starts with the women. The women will then teach their babies. Their babies grow up, and then they teach their babies. And that's how we change the matrix. That's how we get past it.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like Neo right now.
That's that macho shit in you, right?
No, it's the flashbacks, right? And it's the association, and it's like, oh, the oracle. And
No.
Here's your keys. We know the keys.
Yes, indeed. Well, this has just been enchanting, Leah. I knew this would be just a remarkable opportunity to spend time, and I'm so grateful for you giving us your time today and sharing all of your thoughts, your wisdom, and your background, and your testimonial. It's been really healing in so many ways. I just love you so dearly and really appreciate you. You're a remarkable human being. Remarkable.
Thank you, Weedu. Right back at you, brother. Love you for doing all that you do. Thank you so very much for having me on here today. It has been a blessing, and putting forth this information and knowledge is an honor.
Yes. Well, and I intend to get this one out. Get it distributed. Get it downloaded, get it uploaded into YouTube, and make sure it gets around a few of the groups and all of that. And yeah, I thank you all for joining us today and bringing forth your comments, your questions, your love, your support. It's really been awesome to share this time together. And I knew it would be special. That's why yesterday, just whatever reason, we were supposed to do this on Valentine's Day, I suppose. It's just, we are being guided. And
yes, absolutely.
I do want to remind folks that next week I have Jordan Blakey, who represents the Urine Magic group, and he has a lot of knowledge on kombucha PT. And then the following week I got Monica Swift, who runs the urine therapy group as well. And so the next couple of weeks, and I still have people coming further into the queue. And I also want to remind people, if they'd like to still donate towards the ORIN Oracle book, I welcome you to do so. $25 or more donation secures you a signed and numbered copy of the book, which the publisher is now waiting for. I need to get the comments. If anybody wants to put in comments, they are welcome to do so, but it's timely at this point because I need to have the book complete. And that kind of goes with donations, and that can be done at paypal.me/Weedu. So also, anybody that wants to be in communion with a group of fellow pea drinkers, the Water Life Symposium will be held, its second annual. That'll be in Las Vegas at the West Gate in September 21st, 2nd, and 3rd. And tickets are available. Registration's only $35. Just go to the Water Life Symposium. .com and make that happen for yourself. It's a beautiful experience to commune with some really remarkable people, and they come from all over the world. So with all that being said, I thank you again, Leah, for your time and your energy and your love. You've been a real blessing to me today, and I accept it with big heart, big love. It's really been a marvel. And so I want to wish everybody a beautiful, wonderful, marvelous day. Make your day as special as you are. And always keep your peace together. And boom! Ha! You've just been loved. All right. Ciao for now. Bye, Leah.